Hello students. So today's lecture we will be discussing about the concept related to module 4, that is water chemistry. So we will be discussing how the determination of fluorides and sulfates can be done. So this determination of fluorides and sulfate, this topic is related to page number 30 to 31 of the study material that is given to you under module 4. So this is the last concept related to module 4. So how we can analyze the fluoride content and sulfate content in water sample. So which are very good methods to determine the quality of water, what is the level of fluoride concentration or sulfate ion concentration in water. So usually these fluorides are determined by Spann's method using a spectrophotometer or a colorimetry. So we will be using the colorimeter to analyze the concentration of fluoride ion. So colorimeter is a instrument used to record the absorbance of a solution. And similarly these sulfate ions, how they are analyzed. So sulfate ions determined by gravimetric method. So these two methods in detail we will be discussing. So here gravimetric method is nothing but it is a method in which the amount in the sample or analyte is determined by converting the analyte into some other product form, then measuring the amount of product form in a standard manner. So first one is determination of fluorides by Spann's method. So here this is carried out using colorimeter. So the method that we use, or if we record the absorbance of a solution by using colorimeter, then such technique we call it as colorimetry, whereas colorimeter is the instrument. So colorimeter is nothing but it is the instrument which measures the optical density or absorbance of specific solution. So usually for colored solution we use colorimeter. So mainly the concentration of ions can be easily determined, especially the colored solutions can be easily determined using colorimetry method. So here this method works on the principle of Beer-Lambert's law, that is, as the concentration of the analyte varies, then the amount of light absorbed also varies. So how they are related to each other, that is, here this method works with the principle that as the concentration of the solution increases, absorbance also increases. So they are directly proportional to each other, and this is stated by Beer-Lambert's law. That is why colorimetry technique works on the principle of Beer-Lambert's law. Next, what is the significance of fluoride? Why we need to analyze fluorine or fluoride ion concentration? So as we know, fluorine, it is an important element for human being. We know the importance of fluoride ion. So it helps in the growth, and also it prevents the enamel of the teeth from dissolving. So under acidic condition there is possibility that the enamel of the teeth gets dissolved. So for that a required amount of fluoride content is required. So also drinking water and seawater, they are the good sources of fluoride, but we need to make sure that the concentration of fluoride ion does not cross the required limit. So if there is higher concentration, then what happens? It will cause serious health hazard also, as the disease caused mainly one of the common disease is fluorosis. So it may affect the dental system, skeletal system, even we have heard about non-skeletal related fluorosis. So that is why identifying the concentration of fluorine is an important method to prevent the various problems. So how this concentration of fluoride is determined? Using colorimetry. So first one, what is the principle behind the determination of fluoride by Spann's method? So Spann is an reagent, so it is sulfonyl azo disulfonate, naphthalene disulfonate compound here. So what is the full form of SPANS? That is given here clearly. SPANS is nothing but trisodium para 2-para-sulfophenyl azo 1,8-dihydroxy 3,6 naphthalene disulfonate. So DS stands for disulfonate, S stands for sodium. So sodium para sulfophenyl azo compound it is, so it is SPANDS, abbreviated as SPANDS. So here in this method it involves the use of SPANS zirconyl complex. So that is a dye. So under main principle behind this is, under acidic condition when water contains fluoride, this fluoride ion reacts with zirconium dye. So that dye is formed by the reaction between the SPANS reagent and zirconyl fluoride. So mainly here the method utilizes the reaction between fluoride and a complex of zirconium with an organic reagent, that is nothing but the SPANS reagent. So when this is added to the water containing fluoride, this water fluoride reacts with the complex and it dissociates it into another colorless anion, that is ZrF6 form. So ZrF6 form is formed. This is a new complex and actually it is a colorless complex. And what happens, as fluoride ion concentration more, then the formation of new complex increases as well as the color. This zirconium SPANS dye, it is actually red in color. So what happens, as the concentration of fluoride increases or the reaction between the fluoride ion and the complex dye proceeds, the color of this dye goes on fading. So color intensity decreases. So as there is change in color, what happens, the amount of absorbed light or the transmitted light by the solution also varies. So dye's color progressively lightens as fluoride concentration increases. So next, the change in color of the dye will cause change in the transmitted light. So when there is a change in color, the intensity of the absorbed light or the transmitted light also changes, and this change in absorbance or transmitted light we can detect it by using the colorimeter. So by recording the absorbance value from the colorimeter, we will come to know what is the amount of light absorbed by that particular concentration of the sample. So based on this we carry out the analysis. Also we prepare series of known concentration of the water sample with the fluoride ion different fluoride ion concentration, then the test sample. So we need to record the absorbance of all the standard solution as well as the test sample, and we can draw a calibration curve and we can compare the absorbance value of the test solution with the standard solution, and easily we can calculate what is the amount of light absorbed by the test sample as well as what is the concentration of fluoride ion present in that sample. So this is the main principle behind SPANS method for determination of fluoride ion. So as you can see, mainly here it involves a reaction between fluoride and a complex of zirconium dye, that is zirconium chloride and SPANS dye complex, and this dye is red in color. So this, when you add the sample, water sample which contains the fluoride ion, what happens is dye will react with the fluoride and it gives rise to another new complex ZrF6, and this complex is actually colorless, and as the reaction proceeds or as the fluoride ion concentration increases, the red color of the dye progressively lightens. So based on the intensity of the color, the absorbance ability of the solution also varies. So that can be detected by using the colorimeter, and finally we can plot the calibration curve and we can compare the values of absorbed light, and we can finalize what is the concentration of fluoride ion in that test sample given to us. So next, what is the procedure that is followed during the determination of fluorides by SPANS method? So first we need to prepare the dye complex, that is Span's zirconyl chloride dye. That is how it is prepared. First thing, we need to dissolve this Span's azo compound in distilled water and we need to dilute it, and again we need to dissolve separately zirconyl chloride octahydrate ZrCl2 8H2O. So, and that also we need to dissolve in distilled water. So we need to dissolve Span's and zirconyl chloride in distilled water, and for this we need to add HCl, and again we need to dilute with the distilled water. So after that we need to mix all the reagent in equal volumes, that is Span's solution prepared in distilled water and zirconyl acid reagent. So why these zirconyl acid reagents? For Span's plus zirconyl acid reagent. So this will give the red colored complex dye. This we are going to use as a reagent. Now also we need to prepare series of standard solution of different concentration of sodium fluoride. So standard solution of sodium fluoride of varying concentrations has to be prepared by using a standard flask, and we need to add 1 drop of sodium arsenite and 10 ml of the dye reagent, that is Span's zirconyl acid reagent, to each of the solution of the standard solution. So after you add a series of standard solution of sodium fluoride, so different known concentration of sodium fluoride has to be taken in different standard flasks. So for all the standard flasks we need to add 1 drop of sodium arsenite and 10 ml of zirconyl acid reagent and Span's solution that is already prepared and kept to each of the standard flask, and we need to mix well, and also we need to make the solution up to the mark, and we need to shake well for uniform concentration, and we need to record the absorbance of all the standard solution prepared using the colorimeter. So before we record the absorbance, we need to set the colorimeter to 0 by taking the blank solution. So a blank solution has to be prepared and we need to set the colorimeter to 0. So this is the procedure followed, and once the blank solution instrument is calibrated, after that we need to record the absorbance of the standard solution that we prepared by adding sodium fluoride different concentration, then 1 drop of sodium arsenate to all the standard flask along with 10 ml of Span's zirconyl acid reagent. Now after that we need to record the optical density, and again we need to take the test water sample or the sample of which we are going to analyze the fluoride ion, unknown concentration fluoride ion we need to take, and for that also we need to add 1 drop of sodium arsenite and 10 ml of Span's zirconyl acid chloride dye, and we need to mix well, and again we need to note down the absorbance of this test water sample also. Now once this is done, we can draw the calibration curve by plotting concentration versus absorbance value. So concentration versus absorbance. So we know the concentration of all the standard solutions that we have prepared, as well as we know the absorbance of all the standard solutions that we prepared using the colorimeter. And one more thing, from the test water we know the absorbance of the test water sample also, but the concentration is unknown. So we will compare the value of the absorbance of the test water sample in the calibration curve, and we can easily calculate the concentration of fluoride ion in the given test water sample. This is how fluoride is analyzed using Span's method and using the instrument colorimeter. So this is about the determination of fluoride ion. So first thing, the procedure that is involved, once again I am going to repeat the procedure. Principal part, mainly it involves the reaction between fluoride and complex of zirconium with the organic reagent Span. So Span's zirconyl chloride complex reaction with fluoride takes place. So as it reacts, what happens? it forms ZrF6 complex along with the fluorine, and the color of this dye, that is originally it was red color, so as the concentration of fluoride varies, as it increases, the color also becomes lightened. So based on the color intensity, the value of the absorbance also, or the optical density value also varies. So using the calibration curve, we can plot the graph and we can compare the absorbance value of the unknown test sample, and we can easily identify the concentration of fluoride ion. Now first thing, we need to prepare the blank solution. So how we prepare the blank solution without adding the fluoride solution? So blank solution is prepared using just 10 ml of zirconyl acid Spans reagent, and we need to set the colorimeter to 0 by keeping the filter at 570 nanometer, because the lambda max, highest absorption intensity for the given complex Spans zirconyl oxychloride, is at 570 nanometer. That is why the filter has to be kept at 570 nanometer in the calorimeter. Now after this, once the instrument is set, we need to prepare series of standard solution of sodium fluoride of different concentration. So in the standard flask, and for the same standard flask, all the standard flask, we need to add 1 drop of sodium arsenite and 10 ml of Spans zirconyl acid chloride reagent, and we need to make it up to the mark and shake well for uniform concentration. After that, we need to record the optical density or absorbance value. Now whatever the test sample we want to analyze, that also we have to prepare the standard solution by taking in the standard flask. Again we need to add 1 drop of sodium arsenite to the same flask and add 10 ml of Spans zirconyl chloride reagent, mix well, note down the absorbance reading. Next, compare these values using a calibration curve, and easily you can identify the concentration of fluoride in the test water sample or unknown concentration water sample. So this is the steps involved in determination of fluoride. Next is about determination of sulfates by gravimetric method. So what do you mean by gravimetric method? So gravimetric method is a quantitative method in which the analyte that we are going to analyze is determined by converting the analyte into some other product in the precipitate form. So we need to determine sulfate ion concentration. So the sulfates has to be converted to some other form where it exists in the form of precipitate. So we need to add some reagent here. So that is the main principle behind gravimetric method. So here sulfate ions are quantitatively precipitated as barium sulfate. So the reagent that we are using for the precipitation process is barium chloride, and finally the formed barium sulfate is filtered, dried and weighed exactly, and the amount of sulfate can be calculated easily. So here the gravimetric method is a quantitative method of an analyte in a sample. So how we analyze the analyte? So here in this case analyte is sulfate ion. So here we will convert the analyte into another product form which exists in the precipitate form. So then we need to find out the quantitative measurement of the product formed in a standard method, that is using a Whatman filter paper, and we need to calculate the exact amount of the product formed, and we can calculate the amount of the analyte present in the given sample. So significance of sulfate. As we know, sulfate ions in water, they are in the form of their dissolved salt. It may be sulfates of sodium or potassium, magnesium, calcium, etc. So they do not exist as precipitate in water. So they exist in the dissolved salt form. So using gravimetric method, how we are going to analyze this? So we know the importance, how they are distributed in nature also. These sulfate ions are distributed in nature, in natural water, soils, as well as food content also. So analysis of sulfate is a important a method to identify the quality of the sample or water quality, etc. So gravimetric method of analysis of sulfate and ions. So here, as I mentioned, the analyte is sulfate. So the analyte in the sample is converted to some other product. So here sulfate ions in water sample are precipitated as barium sulfate, BaSO4, by treating with barium chloride containing HCl under acidic condition. So then whatever the barium sulfate is formed here, that is filtered, dried and weighed exactly. So first thing, they are analyzed effectively by gravimetric methods, and gravimetric method is nothing but it is a quantitative method of determination of ions in its converted product form. So this converted product form must be a precipitate, and here in this experiment sulfate is quantitatively precipitated as barium sulfate by treating with barium chloride. Barium chloride is the reagent that we are adding under acidic condition. So here precipitated barium sulfate is filtered, dried and weighed. As you can see, this is the sulfate ion. So when you add barium chloride to water, if there is sulfate ion present in water, easily it will precipitate as barium sulfate, and along with the elimination of chloride ions. So here we need acidic condition also, that's why we are using HCl. Along with barium chloride we need to use HCl also. So what is the procedure that is followed for the determination of sulfate ion and how we can calculate it? So here first thing, the water sample we need to take in a beaker, and for that we need to add HCl and we need to bring it to boiling. So once it starts boiling, at that stage we need to add 1 test tube of barium chloride, BaCl2. So it is a reagent, precipitating reagent. So when you add BaCl2, what happens? It forms barium sulfate. So while adding barium chloride, we need to maintain constant stirring and we have to ensure precipitation is completed. Otherwise there may be possibility that sulfate ion still remains in the water sample. So we need to digest the solution on the water bath for 30 minutes so that the colloidal form of barium sulfate formed will form exact crystalline precipitate, so that it is easy to filter and weigh it. And we need to allow the precipitate to stand for 1 hour, and after that, after it attains the room temperature, we need to filter the precipitate, that is the barium sulfate precipitate. We have to filter it, and here we need to use special type of filter paper, not normal filter paper. So we will be using Whatman filter paper. So after that, transfer the precipitate into, along with the Whatman filter paper, we need to transfer the precipitate into already dried and weighed, pre-weighed silica crucible, clean dried silica crucible, and we need to burn the precipitate along with the Whatman filter paper by placing inside the crucible inside a electric burner. So first thing, we need to note down the weight of the silica crucible, clean and dried silica crucible, and we have to consider it as W1 gram. After that, we are going to place the precipitate of barium sulfate formed along with the Whatman filter paper, and we need to burn it in the electric burner. Once the filter paper is burnt off completely, transfer the crucible to a desiccator for cooling. So we need to cool the crucible to room temperature inside a desiccator, and once it attains the room temperature, we need to note down the weight of silica crucible. That weight we can consider it as W2 gram. So the difference between the weight, that is W2 and W1, will give you the amount of the precipitate formed exactly, that is the amount of barium sulfate precipitate formed. Then we can calculate the amount of sulfate by knowing the weight of the barium sulfate formed by considering its molecular weight. So this is how easily we can analyze the sulfate content in given water sample. So we are following the gravimetric method here. So main thing is we need to convert the analyte, that is sulfate, into its precipitate form by converting it to barium sulfate by adding barium chloride reagent. So here the precipitate formed has to be filtered through quantitative Wattmann filter paper, and it is once it is filtered, we need to wash it thoroughly to make sure it is free from all the impurities. So hot water washing is important here, and the precipitate is ignited in the silica crucible. So we need to use clean and dried silica crucible, and we need to note down the weight of the silica crucible before placing the precipitate, and after placing the precipitate along with the filter paper, after burning it inside an electrical burner, again we need to note down the weight of the precipitate. So the difference between the weight will give you the idea about the amount of barium sulfate formed. So here gravimetric method gives good results when sulfate ions present in water. So if the sulfate concentration is very low in water, then we may not get a good amount of precipitate. So in such cases we need to take a large volume of water, then it is evaporated into small volume. Then the sulfate content in concentrated water can be determined. So next is the calculation part. So how the amount of sulfate can be calculated. So as we know, the molecular weight of barium sulfate is 233.3 gram, and sulfate ions SO4 2-, if you calculate the molar weight, then it is 96 gram. So as I mentioned, W2 is the weight of the silica crucible after burning the precipitate. W1 is the initial weight of the empty silica crucible. So the difference between, W2 is initial weight, W1. So W2 minus W1 gram of barium sulfate contains how much gram of sulfate? So theoretically, if you write 233.3 gram of barium sulfate contains 96 gram of sulfate. So if it is giving W2 minus W1 gram of the barium sulfate precipitate, then what is the amount of sulfate formed here? So you can cross multiply it, that is W2 minus W1 into 96 divided by 233.33. So we can take it as xmg or amg of the sulfate is formed. So this is for 200 ml of the sample that we have taken. So it depends on how much volume of water is taken. Now we need the answer in terms of per liter. That is why 200 ml of water sample contains amg of sulfate, then 1000 ml or 1 liter of water sample contains how much mg of sulfate. So that is 1000 into, you can cross multiply, 1000 into A divided by 200 mg of sulfate. So this is how we can calculate the amount of sulfate present in the given water sample. So next, with this we have discussed about all the concept related to module 4. So here I have listed out few of the important questions related to module 4. That is starting from the beginning, we have discussed with the water environmental pollution, that already important questions has been discussed. So the second part, water chemistry, the questions are related to boiler feed water and the problems associated with boilers, important concepts, scale and sludge formation, as well as boiler corrosion also, along with the cause, formation and prevention, and how water treatment can be carried out, water softening method by ion exchange process, and sewage treatment, the secondary sewage treatment, or also it is called as activated sludge treatment. It is also an important concept. And desalination of seawater by reverse osmosis, where softening or demineralization is by ion exchange, desalination by reverse osmosis process. And obviously the boiler corrosion due to three major causes: presence of oxygen, carbon dioxide and magnesium chloride, with reaction and along with the prevention. And about chemical oxygen demand and the experimental determination of chemical oxygen demand of wastewater along with the solved numerical problems, and also the today's video lecture that is related to water analysis, how sulfate ions can be analyzed by gravimetric method and how fluoride analysis can be done by Spann's method. So these are the few of the questions related to water chemistry which are repeatedly appeared in the semester examination. So all the cases, when you are writing the causes, you need to explain the concept along with the reactions and the required diagrams. So with this we will be completing all the concept related to module 4, and next we will be discussing the module 5 concept, that is instrumental method of analysis and nanotechnology. In the next video lecture we will be discussing about instrumental method of analysis. So thank you all.